Let's call the meeting back to order again, please. And since we've had a couple people come in, Mrs. Troublefield, if you'd take a roll call for us, please, again.
Mrs. Briggs? Here. Mr. Cathell?
Here.
Dr. Hattier?
Here.
Mrs. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Peden?
Here.
Mrs. Pryor?
Here.
Dr. Statler? Mrs. Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Wright?
So we do have a quorum. All right. Has everybody looked at the agenda? Can we approve it?
Yes.
Right. We have to take a vote on that, don't we? Yes. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes with unanimous vote. All right, if we'll all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. All righty, 3.04, Student Government.
Good evening. My name is Wilson Mendoza Velasquez, and as treasurer, I am here to represent the Indian River High School Student Council. As we approach summer and the end of the school year, it's important to recognize the efforts of our students during this later portion of the year. As always, all of our spring sports teams have put in tremendous effort this spring season, with our track, boys volleyball, and softball teams making it to states. Alongside our spring sports teams, our band has continued to show success, having a fantastic performance during their spring concert. On the academic side, all of the students at Indian River have shown an amazing effort. AP exams have concluded, and with that, our AP students were able to show how much time and effort they have put into succeeding in the courses they take. While the end of the year may be approaching, our students have not slowed down their academic performance. With finals just around the corner, our students continue to strive and prepare for final exams and end the school year on a high note. Well, for many students, a new year at Indian River awaits. For our seniors, it is their last year at Indian River, and we could not be any more proud. Our graduating class of 2024's last day was on Friday, and for all 4 years that they have been here, they've shown effort, initiative, hard work, and success for the future in whichever path they decide to take. From our 2024 Indian River High School senior class, 356 acceptance letters were accepted from a wide variety of places, including Florida, California, North and South Carolina, Montana, New York, Hawaii, and our very own Delaware were shared with our college and career counselor. From these 356 students, over $8.8 million in merit scholarships were offered. We also had 3 students report enlisting in the military as their desired path, and we wish them the best. All of this was able to be celebrated on May 14th when we successfully held Decision Day, and our seniors shared and celebrated their plans in college, military, skilled trades, or the workforce. As a final farewell and celebration, we will hold our graduation ceremony on Tuesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. Seniors, friends, family, teachers, and anyone invited will be able to celebrate the tremendous amount of effort that our graduating class of 2024 has put in throughout the last 4 years. We will congratulate all of them, but we also congratulate all the teachers, all the students, and all the faculty that were able to help the seniors to where they are today. And we hope that all this help continues moving forward to help all the future graduating classes and keep Indian River High School the best it can be like it is today. Thank you.
Thank you. .05, approval of the regular meeting minutes. And we do need a vote on that.
I'll make a motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the measure passes. 3.06, we need an approval of the executive session minutes.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, having a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Now we move to recognition.
Thank you, Dr. Hattier. We do have several recognitions this evening, starting with our multilingual learners who have exited from their current status. So with us this evening is Dr. Lovelet. She will present to the board.
Tonight, we want to celebrate exceptional achievements of our middle and high school students who have excelled in the state WIDA access test and exited from being multilingual learners. We would like to acknowledge there was 151 elementary students who have also reached this milestone. Learning a new language is challenging, especially during middle and high school years when academic content and social skills are becoming more complex. Research shows older students face greater difficulty in acquiring a new language due to the complexity of secondary education. While young children achieve conversational fluency in 1 to 2 years, academic proficiency often takes 5 to 7 years. Despite these challenges, our students have mastered English, demonstrating proficiency in speaking, reading, listening, and writing, all while maintaining their native languages. This signifies their ability to excel academically in a demanding environment. Their success reflects their hard work, resilience, and the support from their families, teachers, and the educational community. They are truly multilingual and an inspiration to us all. I'd like to go ahead and start with Selbyville Middle School. Ashley De La Cruz Concepcion and Sarahi Valle. Okay. All right, next, Millsboro Middle School, Jonathan Garcia Lopez and Kai Lam Pham. Did you want to say all that? Okay, next up is Georgetown Middle School. You want me to do, what, you want to hand it to him? Okay.
We're going to start with Emily Soto Wachin. And we have Damaris Lopez Domingo. Please come on down, Damaris. Congratulations. Frankly Diaz Gonzalez. Salvatore Vasquez Morales. Davison Saturn. Emmanuel Vernal Solis. Brianna Diaz Mejia. Juanito Diego Lopez. Eliud Martine Martinez. Evans Velasquez Velasquez. Allison Sandoval Garcia. Belinda Gonzalez Mendez. David Gonzalez Morales. William Escalante Gomez. Derek Sandoval Garcia. Jeffrey Lopez Lopez. Luis Roblero Morales. Esau Rivera Lopez. Belinda Gonzalez Mendez. Marco Ortiz Perez. Melina Rivera Morales. And Rubab Gondal. And Ricardo Marquinez.
Next up is Indian River High School. Jocelyn Sophia Santizo Perez. Henry Xavier Lohr. Johnny Eric Ramos Miranda. Fernanda Quevedo Acevedo. Giselle Patraca Espejo. Tin Tan Ta. Dennis Joel Rodriguez Alcon. And last, Sussex Central High School, Stefani Roman Pinzon. Eddie Dionisio Sebastian. Estefani Roblero Velasquez. Kelvin Ramirez Sandoval. Ryan Rodriguez Lima. Brian Lopez Galvez. William Perez. Allison Ponce Zamaripa. Yanni Mazarigos Ortiz. Diego Ramirez Lopez. And Valente Cedino Penaloza.
Yeah, you might as well stay up there. Okay.
Okay, our next recognition this evening is Business Professionals of America National Leadership Conference. Our first school is Selbyville Middle School.
Good evening. Selbyville Middle School is excited to have 3 of our students recognized this evening for their performance at last week's National Business Professionals of America Conference, which was held in Chicago. Joining me this evening are SMS BPA co-advisors, Mrs. Vicki McCreadis and Mr. Josh Sweetman, who will provide a little more background about these prestigious awards.
Good evening. We would like to ask Chase Mutz to join us up on stage. Chase was a first-year BPA student at Selbyville Middle School. His event that he selected was Entrepreneurship Exploration. At the state level in Wilmington, Delaware, Chase finished first in the state for this event. He then went on to go to Chicago with us last week, and we are excited to announce that Chase finished second in the nation for this event. So congratulations, Chase. Next, I'd like to invite Hayden Benner and Molly Hevner to join us on stage, please. Both Hayden and Molly are also first-year BPA students at Selbyville Middle School. They participated in a team event, presentation team management. They also attended the state leadership conference in Wilmington, Delaware, and they too finished first in the state. They came with us last week to Chicago. They had a very large field to participate with, compete against, and we are happy to announce that they finished in the top 10 in the nation. So congratulations.
Okay, sticking with Business Professionals of America, Indian River High School has several awardees as well. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Owens. We would like to recognize our Business Professional of America students who competed most recently in Chicago at the National Conference. I'd like to ask our BPA teacher and advisor, Dr. Jeff Bunning, if he would join me on stage as we present certificates to those students. First, we have Caitlin Kolf, who was 5th in the nation in prepared speech. Next, in economic research, this team finished third in the state, and most recently in Chicago, they finished seventh in the nation. And that team consisted of Ashley Benvidas, Summer Brickman, Torrance Brickman, Wilson Mendoza Velasquez. If you would come forward. Sorry. Next, we have Academic All-Conference for Indian River High School. To make Academic All-Conference, a student has to maintain a minimum of 4.0 and a straight A average during the spring sports season. Tonight, we had exactly 100 student athletes recognized as Academic All-Conference. I can say that's the most we've ever had at Indian River. Those that are in attendance tonight, I will call their name when they come up. If you would come up to the stage for a picture. Those that are not in attendance, we'll make sure that they get their award as well. Our first recipient for golf is Nicholas Polito. Next, for girls lacrosse, Tintin Barons. Also lacrosse, Kennedy Walker. For softball academic all-conference, Satara McGee. Academic all-conference girls tennis, Sarah Deary. Allison Swartz. And Mason Hockman. Next, boys track and field, Brendan Handy. Also, track and field, Joshua Luce. Boys track and field, Wilson Menendez Velasquez. Mendoza, sorry. Academic all-conference for girls track, Danae Henry. Also, girls track, Grace Robinson. And Talia Siscara. Next, we have boys volleyball, Zachary Hearn. Grayson Howard. And Logan Truitt. Congratulations to all of our scholar athletes.
All right, at this point in the meeting, we come to the public comments. Jay?
Thank you. As always, the school board welcomes the opportunity to hear from the public during our public comment session at the beginning and end of each public session. Members of the public speaking as individuals or a member who represents an organization will be allotted 3 minutes. As per board policy, in order to comply with the First Amendment, the board will not entertain protracted public comment with, in favor, or against a staff member. If a speaker makes defamatory statements or invades the privacy rights of a student or employee, the speaker is responsible for such statements and may be held liable. We thank you for adhering to this policy when sharing public comments. And we do have one person signed up, Aaron White. Good evening, Mr. White. Good.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
So I'm here for the youth football program, youth football and cheer program, such as Elite Legends. We play out of Selbyville behind the Southern Delaware School of the Arts. I took over this program a few years back, and for some reason, we've been having trouble trying to get through the school system that's dealing with peach jar or trying to get push alerts, and I'm just trying to figure out a way to get our name out there for the youth. You know, I'm just here for the kids. I don't really deal with politics and all of that, so my question is to y'all, what's the best way for me to get on peach jar? I tried it a few years ago. I got denied, saying we didn't have a correct 501(c), which I do. That's how we get our donations from businesses and things like that. And I see other youth programs and organizations around here able to get their names out there.
Don't we have some type of alert now if they pay for it, different youth programs?
So we do. We have some organizations that are grandfathered in that we've had for some time. The Peach Jar system is typically used for advertisement associated with in-house organizations that we support. But Mr. White, I can give you a call and talk to you about that and share the policy.
Okay.
And talk to you about some ways that we could potentially support you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Section 6, new business, school choice applications. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. On your board docs this evening, you will see a total of 10 school choice applications for May of 2024. We are asking to accept 9 of those and decline 1 due to discipline.
All right. Do we have a motion to support?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 602, Delaware School Boards Association annual dues.
Yes, this is attached in board docs. You can see the breakdown of dues. This year, the fee is $13,038, and that is, as you'll see in board docs, based on the number of units that we do receive. This is up slightly from last year. However, our units are also up. So it is similar to the fees from last year, although I believe they did reduce the divisor to 11 this year. The fees that we're asking the board to consider is $13,038. And that's an annual fee.
Last year was what, around 12?
12.5, I believe.
Okay. Because there was something that came across the Delaware School Board Association. They had raised the percentage a small amount. Do I hear a motion to?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, 603, Indian River School District Summer Work Hours, June 10th through August 16th, 2024, Monday through Wednesday, 7 to 5, Thursday, 7 to 4:30, Friday closed. This is in keeping, I believe, with what we've done over the last 5-6 years anyway.
At least, yes.
At least, okay? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Nutrition Services, prime food vendor.
Board docs, you'll see a recommendation letter from Data Service Center. I recommend the Indian River School District Board approve U.S. Foods for the statewide food distribution contract. They were the highest scoring bidder with the lowest prices. This was discussed in the Finance Committee meeting earlier this month.
Okay, and what Mr. Toomey's not pointing out is that actually it's going to be slightly less than last year. He was able to, all the vendors in the state, it's going to be about 1.7 million less, so we get a piece of that too. Congratulations, thank you. All those, sorry, back up. Do we have a motion to support?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Toomey.
Yes.
Okay, Nutrition Services dishwasher replacement, Indian River High School, Long Neck Elementary, North, and Georgetown Elementary.
Correct. So on your board docs, you'll see the quote tabulations for 3 new dishwashers, one at Indian River, one at Long Neck, one at North Georgetown. These are 96 referendum schools, and the current dishwashers being 20-plus years old, they're starting to show their age. I recommend all the contracts be approved for $11,400. They were the lowest scoring bidder on all 3.
Okay, for those looking at the individual price breakdowns, you'll notice that the prices vary a little bit, but at least one of our buildings, I think it's Indian River, has to have something extra to it.
Yeah, they have
So
a
that-
sandy dry at the end of
That
the
it needs a
unit.
separate drive because of the amount of kids coming through that fast.
Correct.
So, they're 20 years old. This is industrial equipment. It is time. I believe we discussed at Finance that next year we'll probably be getting a few more. So Mr. Toomey's doing a good job replacing them a piece at a time. Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second, okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Congrats on the new clean dishes.
Thank you.
606, Indian River High School Unified Flag Football.
Yes, we discussed this at committee meetings. However, we want to table this evening. I believe the school is looking at their funding for this particular sport.
Right, we did discuss that, so no action needed,
That's correct.
simply being tabled. Okay. Lord Baltimore Pavilion, 607.
Good evening, Mr. Dooley.
Good evening. This exciting proposal for the Lord Baltimore Elementary School has attachments found in your board docs. We are seeking board approval tonight for an item reviewed by the Buildings and Grounds Committee to install pavilion-style outdoor classroom in the rear side area of the site at Lord Baltimore. You can view the proposed site location in the attachments, and you can also find a rendering of what the structure will look like. All funding will be provided by the Lord Baltimore PTO. A licensed contractor will perform the installation, including acquiring the required building permits and installing the structure in accordance with applicable building codes. If there are no questions at this time, we are seeking approval from the board to move forward with this project.
It's kind of exciting that the PTO can raise that much money for one project. Congratulations to them and being active within the community. I do want to insist that it gets electricity right away, though. Okay, if we can, please. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All righty, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, the motion passes by a majority vote. Congratulations.
Thank you.
6.08, New Sussex Central High School change order notifications.
Hello again. The following 4 change orders are shown as attachments in your board docs. All have been presented before the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and all are being presented as board notifications as they are below the dollar amounts outlined under the board's procedures for change order approval thresholds. Mr. Bob Blyman with Richard Y. Johnson Construction is here to present the change orders individually. Mr. Blyman?
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure exactly how they're labeled, but I'll go by the list that I have. Change order B4-10 for Kinsley Steel in the amount of $6,147. That was for the ellipse repairs to help stiffen the steel. There was some movement in it. Wasn't too much of a concern, but we felt it needed some adjustment, so we had the structural engineer come out, take a look at it. Required some stiffening, so we made sure that the adjustments got made. Change order B12-05 with McCary Painting. This was painting for it was extra painting for the smoke hatches, 5 total, 3 in the gym, 2 in the cafeteria, that were not called out to be painted. They were primed red and just kind of really show up on the roof, so we allowed it to have them painted to match the roofing so you don't really see them.
Okay.
Change order B17-16R for Nickel Electric in the amount of $15,308. This is for some additional lighting for the auditorium renovations that we were doing. We picked up some extra lighting in there that was not originally scoped out, so we made sure it got into the cost also. And the last one is DA Knoll, change order B6-03 in the amount of $99,820. This is in reference to the replacement for the damaged materials for the roof. And this should hopefully be the last part of it, and everything should be on site as of this Wednesday.
Okay, now the $99,000, that should at least partially be covered by insurance then at some point, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, we're just trying to make sure we have the materials on hand to finish the job.
Correct.
All right, and I do wish to extend my compliments to you guys for taking the time to open up all the other packages and using what was good. It kept the project moving, it also kept the insurance claim down, and it was an extra effort, but we do appreciate it rather than just sketching the whole thing.
Yeah, we felt with all that material out there, we wanted to make sure everything was going through and it was looked at to make sure, and everything worked out really well.
You guys are doing good.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anybody second? Okay. No, I can't second. I think you can.
I'll second.
Okay, good. We have a motion and a second. Boy, Liaga must have had a hell of a learning curve on this one, I'm telling you. All right. Okay, so if we can have a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes by majority vote.
Thank you.
Tax relief requests. I almost think we should consider these guys separately, okay? And my reasoning for that is based on just the way the letters were written. Now, that's me personally. You know, if somebody objects to that, we can do that. So let's go with number 1 first. And that's the one where the letter was somewhat poorly written. We'll leave it at that. All right, as far as names go. Do we have a motion to approve that tax request?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, hearing none, that one fails. All right, number 2. Do we have a motion on that one?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
I saw a finger being raised, but not a,
Opposed.
okay. Mrs. Troublefield, can we have a vote, please?
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
No.
Mrs. Pryor?
No. Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
6 yes and 2 no and 0 abstentions.
The motion passes by majority vote. We'll move on to old business, major capital planning.
Thank you, Dr. Hattier. A update on our new Sussex Central High School project. Exterior metal studs and sheathing are 90% complete on the classroom wing. Exterior masonry work is underway in the courtyard in the front of the classroom wing. Mechanical and electrical rough-in is taking place in the classroom wing. Drywall finishing is complete in the cafeteria, the kitchens, Area E, first floor, Area G, first and second floors, and painting is underway in those areas as well. And also in Area D, our utility rooms. Roofing is complete on the west side of the building, including the gym, and the classroom wing roof is 70% complete. The site work contractor will be returning in June to begin grading and installing utilities along the west side of the building. The kitchen hood and walk-ins are being installed as well. Ceramic tile is underway in Area G. Casework deliveries for the science wing are arriving, and our executive group continues to meet with RYJ to explore cost-saving measures, construction alternates, and additional project obstacles. We did, again, as we did last month, have a meeting and a tour, and things are progressing nicely. The interior of the school looks great, and you can see as you ride by, the exterior of the building is progressing nicely.
I'd also like to point out that R.Y. Johnson is taking the time, compared to the last couple of schools we built, to actually break everything out line item and trying to make things work given the severe budget constraints that we've had. And it looks like we're going to get an awful lot of what we started out to get. We're still going to be short money based on the governor's and the legislators' refusal to make up for the high inflation that we were stuck with on this project. But I think had we had a different company doing this as our construction management team, we would not be in as good shape as we are now. And I do wish to thank them very much for what they're doing. Appreciate it. Howard T. Ennis.
Yes, thank you. The last remaining project there, the greenhouse, they are waiting on a missing component for the electric. This component is due to arrive in the next 2 weeks, and that will finish out that project and complete for the architect's final acceptance. Regarding the artesian water system transfer, our team has sent a request for additional information on the asset transfer agreement amendment and artesian's process flow diagram with a request to reply by May 24th. So we should have updates by next board meeting.
Okay, that one's been around for a long time. Let's hope we can get that rascal wrapped up. Okay. G.W. Carver consent update.
Dr. Thurgood.
Hi, good evening. On May 6th, Matt Den submitted the 9th interim special master report to the court. In the report, Mr. Den outlined some recommendations for the district to implement and specific documentation that's to be submitted prior to October 1st. The district team has met and has delegated items to ensure completion. This will be the final interim report prior to the end final report that will be submitted to the court in November for them to make a decision on our compliance with the consent order. And we will be sending out to board members the report tomorrow morning. The next Carver check-in meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, committee reports, buildings and grounds. You want to do it, Jay, or I can just do it? Okay, we've already covered several of the items. Howard T. Ennis, the new Sussex Central High School, thank you for that. The Buildings and Grounds Support Center monthly work order report. They've closed 83 tickets, they've opened 83 tickets, 86 were closed, with 62 currently active. Mr. DiGirolamo did break down for us the various schools that had things going and looks reasonable. Okay, cooling tower. We haven't done the cooling tower updates. Geip Associates owes us a final acceptance for East Millsboro, Long Neck, and North Georgetown. Pre-construction meetings were held at Georgetown Elementary and looks like Philip Schau. Cooling towers with construction commencing in June and then going 6 weeks. For those that don't know it, these cooling towers are old. They're part of the air conditioning system, and over time they do need to be replaced. It's a fairly expensive item too. Okay, artesian status we've covered, DOE facility assessment reports. The state dropped a very large file of all the things in the buildings that need to be done, and Mr. Dooley was able to complete them and fill them out and get them in on time. The advantage to this is at least the state knows what the issues are, and they can add it up, see how much money we really need, then they'll deduct 10% and give us the money. Okay, it's a nice state issue. Long Neck Elementary, North Georgetown and Long Neck Sunshades update. The snack group continues to work with the sunshade vendor, and they remain optimistic that these will be completed within the funding deadline. That's the biggest issue that had been rejected by us at first because we didn't think they'd be enough to stand all the winds and storms that we had. They moved to a different vendor that will stand up to the weather activity that we have. Okay, Filter First funding update. Harry Caswell Plumbing is commencing with the new water fountain stations with an IRSD in-house plumber coordinating with the building chiefs. There were what, 40 of those, 70 of those? It was like 72, so there's a lot of filters going into our buildings. I believe that's the result of the lead testing they did last year. And we've already covered the Lord Baltimore outdoor classroom, and thank you to the board for supporting that. I think it'll be a nice addition for the Lord Baltimore campus. Alrighty. Comprehensive school safety report.
No reports this month, Dr. Hattier.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now, financial committee report, that's again me. Mr. Toomey talked about the statewide food distribution contract. As I noted, we will be saving some money on that. The 3 dishwashers we've approved. Mrs. Smith shared the FY 23-24 project expenses for Filters First, which we know is, actually that's all grant funding, which is a good thing. Okay, we did discuss the allowable match taxes, which can be implemented without referendum to help with operational costs. It's been a touchy subject. We can raise some money with that because we are authorized to do so. In the past, we've almost never taken any money out of that for a lot of good reasons. Technically, if we can raise taxes, that makes us a legislative body. But on the other hand, as a legislative body, we should be able to open our meetings with a moment of prayer, which we're not allowed to do. So are we really a legislative body? This is me speaking now, not the board. Okay, but it's something that has bugged me for 22 years, and the state does not want to take a look at it. So as a rule, we're not doing much with that right now. The Unified Flag Football Program at IRHS, which I think we all agreed was a good thing. It comes down to money. And I know that the athletic budgets have not been raised in many, many years, which is something that somebody has to take a look at some point as we do get more money. Okay, but in the meantime, one school covered it within theirs. This school is not, so we're looking at different funding options at this point because, as you know, with all the last referendum was 2017, and we're getting to the point where we're a bit stressed. Okay, all the financial reports will be covered later by Mrs. Smith. Thank you for that. And that's it. That's finance. Curriculum.
Yes, thank you. I believe Dr. Jones is going to give us a little bit more of a detailed update, but the topics covered were ELA and Spanish immersion this month.
Good
Dr. Jones.
evening, everyone. Oh, that's kind of loud. All right, so we did talk about the secondary ELA curriculum pilot that we are going to embark on for next school year. So where we are is Katie Chakro, who is our English and reading specialist. She worked with Department of Education to vet through some what are considered HQIM, high quality instructional materials for secondary ELA, and then presented options to ELA teachers at our March 6th in-service day. As a result of that, teachers at the middle school level, as well as teachers at the high school level, narrowed those choices down to 2 each, and we will be piloting 1 curriculum per semester at each of those levels. Right now, we have all of our schools participating in the pilot with teachers at all grade levels, and over 40 in total will be represented in the pilot. We will be giving updates through curriculum committee and also through the board because eventually there may be cost involved. One of the curricula that both middle school and high school are looking at and considering is an open source curriculum. So while there is not a charge if they choose those, we would have to pay for things like the professional learning and other resources that might accompany that. If they don't choose the open source, then of course there would be a purchase cost that we would bring forth to the board. That's why we want to keep you informed throughout the process.
Yeah, thank you for looking at least that. It'd save us some money anyway if it works.
Yeah.
Okay?
They narrowed it down to those two, so. The other update was Spanish immersion. As you are aware, we did add kindergarten at North Georgetown for this current school year. And as they continue to grow their program up through 5th grade, we will eventually be adding Georgetown Middle to the mix. So we wanted to make sure everyone was well aware of that ahead of time. Also sharing exactly what does immersion look like at the high school level. And it's no longer called immersions, it's called a bridge program. So what happens is our 8th grade immersion students leaving middle school, when they enter high school programming, they're enrolled as freshmen in AP Spanish, which is typically not available until they're upperclassmen. So they take AP Spanish as freshmen. In sophomores, then, we now have a partnership with University of Delaware, and they are taking world language for a UD credit in their sophomore year. And then in their junior and senior years, we try to work towards work-based learning, internships, where they can use the language in real-world situations through employment.
Okay, I have a question on that one.
Yes.
If we're adding extra classes and extra grades in that, where's the money for that coming from?
So for immersion at the high school level, at the middle school level, elementary level, the state does provide some funding for the immersion.
How
When it
about the
comes to-
difference?
Hmm?
The difference, if you said some funding, they're not covering all of it.
I meant some in terms of the high school doesn't necessarily get all that funding for the courses, but the dual enrollment is something that we typically offer anyway through the Department of Instruction. So then it's just available to those students in earlier years of their high school career. So AP Spanish is something that we already offered.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
No other questions? DSBA Board of Directors? No
Mrs. Wright
report?
is not able to be
No
here this
report
evening. No
at this
report.
time. I don't even think they've met recently either. All righty. Okay, DSBA Legislative. All right. That's my committee. I can tell you I've got 30 pages worth of bills to take a look at, and that number doesn't change a whole lot as time goes on. Some of them deal with taxes, for a lot of different reasons. They do want to change the funding for kindergarten, pre-kindergarten special ed, which is nice that they would want to do that, but again, no extra money comes down to us as a local unit. One that does kind of scare me just a little bit, and it's been over a year they've been working on it, is the Delaware Code relating to Seizure and Safe Schools Act, and we know we all want to do something for that. But for every teacher that is disorder trained, there should be 2 other employees that are familiar with rescue medication, et cetera, in order to treat a disorder, and that has to be retaught every 2 years. Okay, again, I don't have a problem with that, but again, there's nothing in here that gives us any extra money to cover for that, because if those people are being retrained, they're not in the classroom. Okay, and I do see that the legislator in all of these, I'm not going to try to cover them all, we'd be here all night. But I do notice that an awful lot of things the legislator comes up with, the state might be willing to give money, but none of it takes into account the types of referendum processes that we as a local district have to go through in order to make up the difference. They simply expect us to cough up the money. And we always have to go to referendum. There's going to be one coming up in the next year. We have to, we don't have a choice. The last one was 2017, and that is keeping historically within what this district has done every 5 to 7 years due to growth of numbers, adding extra positions, et cetera. So I wish that the people in Dover would at least take a look at what we're actually dealing with before they come up with a lot of good ideas. And again, these are not bad ideas that they have in here, they're good ones, but they're coming as an unfunded mandate on our part. Okay? All right, Special Education Task Force, Heather Stadler. I did send copies of all of this to all the board members, by the way, and I would like to make a suggestion that whoever takes over the Legislative Committee after me, you guys try to figure out some other way to get this information to everybody, because seriously, 30 pages worth of this, we'd be here a goodly length of time, and that's not something I personally would want to do either, okay? So just, amongst yourselves, figure that one out. Special Education Task Force for Heather Stadler. She's not here, so there will be no report. All right, policy reading. First reading, I'm sorry, you take that one.
No, thank you, Dr.
If
Hattier.
you will, please.
You'll see we have one first reading there, special board meetings that was reviewed at the committee meeting, and we have three policies for a second reading that would need action this evening. IJECB, Children of District Employees Who Reside Out of State. That's a new policy that we've worked on. GBCB, Staff Conduct, Drug and Alcohol-Free Workplace. Needed updates based on the lawyer. And IKA1, Academic Integrity. I would ask the board to consider approval this evening.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes by majority vote. Yep, that's it. All right, Superintendent's report.
I believe Doc 809 is IREA representative.
Oh, did I miss one? I'm sorry.
It's all the way.
I see 808. Oh, it's at the top of the staple, no wonder. Sorry about that, IREA.
Good evening, Dr. Hattier. We'll let you off the hook this time.
Thank you.
All right, no problem.
2 Hail Marys
Yep,
and a beer.
yes.
Got it.
All right. So, good evening. We wanted to announce that we did give away the 2 $1,800 scholarships from IREA. One went to an Indian River High School student, and the other went to a Sussex Central High School student. So I want to thank everybody that donated to that. It really helps those students out a lot. Second thing is we have teacher negotiations going on right now. We've met 3 times. We've addressed many items and focused mainly on workload. Another meeting is being scheduled to address and hopefully finalize some recruitment and retention language. These have been some of the most productive meetings that I've been involved in, and I've been doing this for over 20 years in the negotiations. So I really want to thank the people that have been involved and put the effort into these meetings. I look forward to starting negotiations for the paras the week after Memorial Day and the secretaries the first week of June. Also want to congratulate the seniors that are graduating this year. We're all looking forward to sending them off on their way and their new adventures, and we look forward to the final 3 weeks of school and closing out the year smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the superintendent's report, section 9.
Thank you. Within board docs is the complete listing of monthly activities. I do want to share 2 highlights from this month. A signing event I was able to attend in Dover for seniors at Sussex Central High School that are in our Educator Rising. That's folks that want to become teachers. There was an event where they were able to sign their letters of intent to attend post-secondary education to pursue a future degree in education. So I believe there were 17 there being recognized. That was one of the most within our high schools in the state. So very, very pleased with our students there that are pursuing a field in education. The second was held at Indian River High School, a signing event for various seniors to attend colleges, military, et cetera. Very exciting to see those students pursuing their next adventure. Many students were recognized that day in the school cafeteria. So I want to thank both our Educator Rising teachers at Sussex Central for all they do for our students, as well as the teachers at Indian River High School, who supported students as they graduate and move on to the next chapter of their lives. So again, my complete listing is within board docs. Thank you.
Okay. Financial reports. Mrs. Smith.
Good evening.
Indeed.
The reports on board docs are as of April 30th. We were 83% of the way through the fiscal year. For Part 1, the financial summaries, we had received 94% of our total budgeted revenue, 99% of our budgeted discretionary revenue, and 101% of budgeted local tax revenue. In April, we received about $155,000 in interest for our March balances. We spent 71% of total budgeted expenses, 80% of total budgeted discretionary expenses, 75% of budgeted tuition-funded classroom expenses, and Howard Tiana spent 89% of budgeted expenses.
Okay, report's been presented. We need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes by majority vote. 10:02, detail information for month ending 22 April.
Our student activity funding balance, unencumbered, which does not account for awards that have not yet been spent, is approximately $427,000. ESSER 3 funding, again, that expires September 30th of this year, we've spent or encumbered $26.8 million and have approximately $4 million remaining. We have $10.5 million in federal funds total available for spending, and we're holding approximately $1.3 million in donations and internal accounts.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. 10:03, major capital improvements for month ending 22 April.
For the month of April, we paid out $8.4 million in major capital improvement expenses.
And it could have been worse. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. You figure it out, Jennifer. All righty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes by majority vote. Minor capital improvements for month ending 22 April.
Last but not least, we have spent or encumbered approximately $5.5 million, and we have approximately $776,000 remaining.
Okay. The remaining amount, though, has to be spent within a certain time period, correct?
At any point in time, we have 3 minor cap allocations available, 3 years' worth. So the 2022 funds will drop off on June 30th. Those are all spent out, or basically all spent out at this
Okay.
point. We'll receive our new allocation probably early November
That's what
for
I thought.
2025.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes by majority vote. Match taxes discussion, which we
Yes.
briefly touched on earlier.
Yes, last month, I brought the match tax definitions to the board. Just a brief refresher, we have historically only collected the match tax on minor capital improvements. We get 60% state funds, match 40% local. There are additional match taxes available to the board, so wanted to make sure that you are aware of them for your consideration. They are technology, extra time, reading math teachers, which consist of reading resource teachers, math resource teachers, and reading interventionists, and the opportunity grant. So on board docs, I did an estimate for FY25 using our FY24 tax assessment total to calculate those rates. The technology tax is based off a 1998 memo from DOE. I know it's old, but that's what it's authorized at. At the time, we were authorized to collect 4.39 cents, which using last year's assessment would equate to about $829,000 or $10.49 per year to the average taxpayer. For extra time, it is based off the allocation in fiscal year 2008, which was about $301,000. So that equates to a 1.59 cent tax rate. or $3.80 to the average taxpayer. For the reading resource teachers, we receive one for each elementary school. So that would be 8. And based on the local salary estimates for that, that would equate to a tax rate of 1.45 cents or $3.46 to the average taxpayer. Math resource teachers, we get one for each 7th and 8th grade configurations. So we would receive 4, 136,800 approximately for local salaries, and that is 0.72 cents or $1.73 to the average taxpayer. Reading interventionists, we have 5 under the Student Success Block Grant. That's funding that the DOE funds the state share of those salaries. So the local share would be 0.91 cents or $2.16 to the average taxpayer. Opportunity Grant is unique in that the state funds 100% of the salaries for people paid out of that grant, but we are allowed to collect a match. And Opportunity Grant serves both mental health, but also reading intervention and those kind of services. What I had proposed last year, and again this year, is to use that match to pay for the local salary, the local share of the salary for the mental health units. 2, maybe 3 years ago, House Bill 100 was passed to give us mental health services units at elementary schools, which gives us approximately 26 additional positions. The following year, House Bill 300 was passed to put the same positions in middle schools. That's approximately 12 additional positions. And House Bill 200 is currently making its way through the legislature for the high school units. It was introduced last year, didn't go anywhere by the end of the legislative session, and has actually moved through the House in, I think, last week or the week before, and is awaiting consideration in the Senate. Based on the numbers in that bill, we would get approximately 13 additional units. So my estimate is to use that funding for the local share of those salaries, which would be 9.12 cents or $21.79 to the average taxpayer. In total, that's $43.43 to the average taxpayer if we were to collect all of them. For next month, for June, I will bring the FY25 tax warrant information with the updated property tax assessment. All of the tax rates, so current expense that's passed by the referendum, so that rate is set. Debt service based off of our principal and interest payments for next year. Tuition based off of our estimated tuition spending, and minor cap. Along with these, I'll bring multiple options for the board to consider and seek approval. For your information, the tax warrants are due to the county the second, I believe, Thursday in July. So we will need tax rates approved in whatever configuration that looks like.
Okay, we did discuss this at the Finance Committee meeting, and one of the things to consider is that if we raise the taxes, forget what my personal thoughts are on it, but if we do raise the taxes on our own, and we are going to be going for a referendum asking for another tax increase, and with everything that they're doing with the reapportionment of the taxes, et cetera, us raising those taxes could be something that would affect the approval of another referendum. It's not that straightforward. You know, I understand why this is something that would need to be done, but if we are going for a referendum, do some thinking. You know, I don't know that that would go over well with the community, whether we need it or not. There's some bigger issues here too. So thank you, Mrs. Smith.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Did you say we're supposed to have something in our?
There should be the other match taxes estimate in your board docs. If not, I will send that out to the board.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
No other questions or comments? You're released. Okay. 11, communications.
Thank you. We have 2 field trip requests this month, an overnight trip by Millsboro Middle School cheer on August 11th through 14th to Hansdale, PA, and an overnight trip by Sussex Central High School's TSA, June 25th to July 1st to Orlando, Florida.
Do we have a motion to support?
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing any? It looks like they're doing field trips. Personnel. Do the personnel agenda first, and did you write down all the cutouts?
I believe so.
Okay, then I will allow Dr. Owens to do that, please, and thank you.
So I believe the first would be the agenda excluding 67, 87, and 114.
Okay,
132 was separate, correct? That wasn't an addition, that's a separate one, right?
all right. Do we have a motion to support?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we need to vote on the other ones independently, correct?
We also had the 132 and 56, two separate. So did you want to exclude all of them at this point?
We should exclude all of them, in which case we voted too soon, and that's my fault.
Okay. So 132, 67, 87, 114, and an additional 132.
Okay, then we voted too soon this time. That's my fault. I'll take the responsibility. All right, so with all of them removed,
Correct.
let's do this again. Can we do that? I think we can do
Yes.
that. We can do that.
Make
Okay.
a motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
So then we would need each one of these individually, number 67, 87, 114, and 132.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay,
I'll
because there
make a
were different
motion.
people involved in that one, correct?
So
So
let's-
you state it because you wrote it down, not me.
Yes, I think 67, 87, and 114 can all be together.
Okay?
So I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Not hearing any, that passes.
Am I,
There, no, you're,
that would be me to be abstained?
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So then we need a roll call.
We have to have a, that's right, we have an abstention. Okay.
Mrs. Briggs?
Abstain.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
That is 7 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
And then finally, we would need 113. Excuse me, 132.
Separate or together?
Just 132.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. We have an abstention. Mrs. Troublefield, please call the roll.
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Abstain.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
Motion passes by majority vote.
And that's all for the personnel agenda. We can move to the addendum.
Now we can go to the addendum. Okay.
So we have one exclusion there, number 56.
I'll make a motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And an abstention. Mrs. Troublefield?
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Abstain.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, and 1 abstention.
Motion passes by majority vote.
And now 56.
And now 56.
And I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Does he want to abstain?
So we're voting at this point for number 56, so you would need to abstain for this one, if that was the one.
Okay.
The other one passed anyway.
It's fine. It passed anyway.
Yep.
Good. It's not just me. Thank you, Jesus. Okay? All right, so we do have an abstention.
Yes.
You want to call the roll on this one, please?
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Abstain.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
That's 7 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
Motion passes by a majority vote. Okay. Notification of retirements, no vote needed. We've seen that list. There's 3 of them. I don't know that we need to cover that. We do need a vote on 1204, Director of Special Education. Do I hear a motion for any of the candidates?
Make a motion for candidate number 1.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Mrs. Troublefield?
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Abstain.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
And passes by a majority vote. Okay. Now we have 1205, Principal at Georgetown Elementary.
I make a motion to accept candidate 1.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And 1 abstention.
Mrs. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Dr. Hattier?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Abstain.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mrs. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
Okay, majority vote. Motion passes. Congratulations, candidate 1. All right, public comments. Do we have anyone in the public who wishes to make a final comment? Hearing none, we will adjourn the meeting.